I never expected her to remember my name, let alone everything else. It was just supposed to be a quick stop. One of those local errand shops that do everything: key copies, parcel pickups, sometimes passport photos if the machine's working. I'd been there once or twice before. She managed the place. Maybe owned it. Mid-40s, maybe more. Always dressed like she had somewhere else to be after work. Sleeves rolled just enough, gold ring on a chain, lipstick never too loud. Today was Sunday. The kind where the sky doesn't really bother waking up. I pushed the door open and the bell didn't chime. Just that muffled thud of rubber soles on old tile. I figured I'd be in and out. But the counter was empty. Then she came down the narrow back stairs in a slate gray robe, hair damp like she'd just stepped out of the shower. No makeup, no earrings, just her. "Oh, sorry," she blinked, tying the robe tighter with a single hand, the other holding her phone. "I thought we were closed today." Her voice wasn't flustered, just tired, like someone who'd been resting in a silence she wasn't ready to let go of. I just came for a package," I said, suddenly aware of how loud my own voice sounded in the empty room. "It said it was ready for pickup." She stared for a second too long. "You're Naveed, right?" I nodded. "Yeah. Wait here. I'll check." She disappeared behind a curtain of clear plastic strips. I stood there, trying not to notice the single coffee cup still warm on the counter, or the radio playing low in the back, an old ghazal humming about distances and missed trains. When she returned, she handed me the parcel. A small, brown box, and tilted her head, amused. "You order cables a lot?" "What?" She smiled faintly, pointing to the return label. "This is your third one. You must be building something complicated." I laughed under my breath, more of a nervous puff of air. "Just keep losing chargers." She nodded, that kind of nod that doesn't agree or disagree, just lets the moment pass. "I can mark it for after hours next time," she said. "If you'd rather not deal with the usual crowd." I almost asked what crowd, since I never saw anyone else here. But I just said, "Yeah, thanks." I turned to leave, then paused halfway to the door. I don't know why. Maybe it was the robe, maybe the quiet, maybe the way she didn't rush back upstairs. Her eyes flicked to the parcel in my hands, then to the clock on the wall. "It's Sunday," she said. "No rush." "Not really." She nodded again. Then I left. That night, I hovered over my phone longer than I'd like to admit. I had her number. It was printed on the slip taped to the parcel. Probably for logistics. I didn't text. I just looked at it. At some point, I fell asleep on the couch, phone still in hand, box unopened. At 2:11 a.m., I woke to a screen lit with a message I didn't expect. "Sorry again about earlier. Was in the middle of laundry. You okay getting home?" I stared at it for a long time, thumb hovering, heart doing that annoying thing where it acts like something just happened. Then I typed, "Didn't mean to catch you off guard. Thanks for remembering my name." I deleted it, rewrote it, paused. "You looked peaceful. I hope I didn't ruin that." I didn't send that one either. Instead, I just typed, "Yeah, got home fine. Thanks." Sent. Then stared at the 3 dots. But they never came. The next time I saw her, she had a mug in one hand and a half-open folder in the other. "I made too much chai," she said, not quite looking at me. "You want some?" I nodded before thinking it through. She poured it into an extra cup from behind the counter, no sugar, no fuss. Just steam curling between us like a bridge we hadn't named yet. She slid the mug over and sat down across from me at the low wooden desk where customers usually fill out forms. I stood awkwardly until she gestured to the chair beside her. "It's slow today," she said. "Courier's late." Her voice always had that settled quality, like she didn't rush when silence had something to say. I glanced around. A single fan word overhead. The paper calendar still hung on July. She noticed me looking and smiled. "I'm always behind. I think time just stopped somewhere for me." She didn't say it dramatically. She just sipped her chai and watched the window like it owed her something. I found myself asking, "Stopped where?" She tapped the table softly. "When my daughter moved out." 3 years ago. She's in Karachi now, teaching. You have a daughter? She nodded. She's your age. Something shifted then. Not sharply. Just enough to make me aware of the space between our mugs, and how my foot had drifted a little too close to hers beneath the table. I probably shouldn't have told you that, she said. No, it's okay. I'm glad you did. She didn't answer. Just looked at me like she was trying to remember something from a dream. I thought about telling her I lived alone, that my apartment still smelled like the boxes I never unpacked, that sometimes I talked to myself just to hear a voice that didn't come from a screen. Instead, I asked, did she ever visit here? This place? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Once, said it smelled like warm plastic and cardamom. She meant it as a compliment. We both laughed quietly. Later, when the delivery guy finally arrived, she stood to sign the manifest, brushing past me. Her sleeve grazed my hand. I flinched. Not because it startled me, but because I didn't want it to end. She noticed, paused, then kept walking. As I reached the door, she called out, next time, I'll remember the sugar. I turned back. She was already writing something on the manifest, but her voice had a smile tucked inside it. I wanted to say something, anything, but all I managed was, thanks. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. Not as a customer, not as a kid, just me. And for a second, I think she let me see her too. She started locking the door during lunch. Not in a suspicious way, just a flipped sign back in 15, and the kind of silence that made you notice your own heartbeat. I dropped by less often, told myself I was just respecting boundaries. But some days, I'd find myself outside the shop, pretending to check my phone, hoping the sign was flipped. Today it was, I knocked anyway. She opened the door, a soft crease between her brows. Not irritation, just surprise. Didn't expect you. I was passing by. I lied. Package for my neighbor. She held the door open without a word. I stepped in. It smelled like ginger and something faintly floral. There's no delivery, she said almost gently. I know. We just stood there for a second. Then she walked behind the counter, unwrapping a scarf from her neck, like she was shedding a layer she wasn't ready to give up. I shouldn't keep letting you in like this, she said, not facing me. Why? She turned slightly. Her eyes lingered too long on my mouth before they found the floor. Because I don't know what this is. Neither did I. Or maybe I did, and I was afraid to say it out loud. Because whatever it was, it didn't fit. Not in daylight. Not in this small shop that smelled like her skin and chai and everything I shouldn't be thinking about. She sat down. Same desk as before. I followed again. Familiar choreography. I had a dream last night, she said, out of nowhere, that I was my daughter's age again. But I still had these hands. She looked at them, then quickly pulled them under the desk. I wanted to reach for them. I didn't. I asked, do you miss her? Her lips parted, then closed. Every day. She didn't cry, just blinked slower. Then the door rattled. Someone trying the knob. We both jumped. A voice. Familiar. Hello? Auntie, are you open? It was Sammy, my roommate. I froze. She looked at me. A different look this time. Calculation. Distance. She stood, smoothed her sleeves and called out, just a second. I mouthed sorry. She nodded, but something had already shifted. When the door opened, she greeted him like nothing was strange. Like I wasn't standing in the corner, heart kicking against my ribs. He barely noticed me, just grabbed his parcel and left. Silence again. She didn't sit back down. I think we should have some space, she said. Not unkind, not cold, just resigned. I opened my mouth, closed it. She walked me to the door, hand brushing the frame beside mine. Neither of us pulled away. I looked at her, really looked, and for half a second, maybe less, she leaned in. Just slightly. So did I. But then she stepped back. The latch clicked. A soft, final sound. I stood there for a moment before walking off. No package. No words. Just the warmth of her almost near me. It was dusk. That hour where everything feels suspended, not quite night, not still day. She'd closed early, said she needed a walk. I offered to join before I knew what I was offering. We ended up by the canal. Quiet stretch, faded benches, uneven pavement. She carried her thermos. I kept my hands in my pockets. For a while we didn't talk. Just walked side by side like we were pacing out a silence neither of us wanted to break. Then she said, "I saw you with that girl yesterday, outside the chai stall." I blinked. "Who, Zara?" "She's in my lab group. We were—" "You don't owe me an explanation," she cut in, eyes straight ahead. "I just noticed." She took a sip from her thermos. The lid clicked shut louder than necessary. I watched her. The way her shoulders were set, loose, but guarded, like she'd practiced this distance. "She's 23, I said, though I didn't know why. She didn't answer. We sat down on a cracked bench. A crow landed near her foot, pecked at something invisible, then flew off. "I don't know what I'm doing," I said. She glanced at me. "You're young. You don't have to know yet." "That's not what I meant." She didn't ask what I did mean, just looked out at the water, brow furrowed slightly like it hurt to think too long. After a beat, I added, "You make me forget how lonely I was before this." She exhaled through her nose, not quite a sigh. "You say that now, but eventually you'll want something I can't be, or pretend to be." "I'm not pretending, but I am," she said quietly. "Every time I let you sit close like this, every time I look at you and forget I'm supposed to know better." Her voice didn't crack. She wasn't performing pain, just saying it like it was a fact she'd carried too long. I wanted to tell her that I didn't care, that I didn't see her the way she feared I did, that this, whatever this was, had stopped feeling casual the first time she remembered my name. But I didn't. Instead, I asked, "Do you regret it? Letting me in?" She didn't look at me, just ran her thumb over the edge of the thermos, tracing circles that never closed. "I think about your mother sometimes," she said suddenly. That caught me off guard. "Why?" "Because if she knew you came here, what would she think of me?" A dog barked in the distance. We both turned toward the sound, grateful for the interruption. I watched her for a moment. The light hit her face in that way that softened everything. She looked tired, and so beautiful it hurt. I leaned forward slightly. She didn't move away. Our knees brushed. Close. Too close. I could feel the question forming between us. Not spoken, but loud. "Are we really gonna cross this line?" She stopped texting first. Not abruptly, just gradually. The way autumn leaves don't fall all at once. But you look up one day and the tree's bare. I still walked by the shop. Still peeked through the window when I thought she wouldn't see. But the lights were dimmer. The back in 15 sign stayed up longer. Once I saw her talking to someone. A man in a navy sweater, leaning across the counter like he belonged there. I didn't go in. Not that day. Not the next either. I told myself I was giving her space, that we both needed to clear our heads. But really I was waiting for a message, a sign, anything. Then one morning, I saw her sitting outside the shop, keys in hand, fiddling with her phone. I crossed the street without thinking. "Morning," I said. She looked up, surprised. Or maybe just caught. "Oh, hi. I was just locking up. Have to head out." I nodded. "Everything okay?" She hesitated. "My daughter's back. Just for a few weeks. She's staying with me." The sentence landed quietly. No drama. Just that soft weight of rearranged reality. "I didn't know," I said. "I didn't tell you." She gave me a half-smile. The polite kind. Like I was just another neighbor now. Something tightened in my chest. Not pain exactly. More like pressure. Confusion. The kind that makes you rehearse things you won't actually say. I wanted to ask if she'd told her daughter about me. If the man in the sweater was her ex-husband. If I was now just an odd chapter she didn't plan to revisit. But all I said was, "Do you want help closing up?" "I'm good," she said quickly. Then softer. "Thank you." Her hand hovered near my arm, then fell away. A reflex aborted mid-flight. She turned to leave, then stopped. Naveed. I looked at her. She didn't finish the thought, just tucked her hair behind her ear and smiled again. Tired this time, like she was trying to make it easier for me. I watched her walk off, keys jangling in her hand, the sound echoing a little too long in my ears. That night, I typed a message I wasn't sure she'd want. I hope you're okay. I miss talking to you. I stared at it, deleted it, typed again. I keep thinking about the bench, about the question we didn't ask. Deleted that too. Settled on, if you need space, I get it. Just let me know if it's something else. I didn't send it. I didn't send anything. I just lay on my bed, phone on my chest, watching the fan spin slow circles above me. Not hurt, not angry, just paused, like life forgot to finish the sentence. She opened the door before I could knock, like she'd been standing there, hand on the knob. Thought I heard your steps, she said. No smile, just calm, like she'd already rehearsed what this would be. It was evening. Her hallway smelled like detergent and cinnamon. The overhead bulb buzzed faintly. She stepped aside, and I entered without speaking. She didn't offer tea this time, just led me to the kitchen, where the light was softer and the silence more comfortable. She leaned against the counter. I sat at the small table, same place I imagined her sitting alone most nights. You're not supposed to be here, she said. I know, but you came anyway. I nodded. She folded her arms. Not defensive, just holding something in. My daughter left this morning, she said. She asked if something was going on with me, with someone. I looked at her. What did you say? She paused. I said no, a beat, because I didn't know how to explain it, she added. Or maybe I didn't want it to become real. I rubbed my thumb over the table edge, grounding myself. The wood was worn smooth, 1,000 small gestures etched into its surface. I thought about stopping by every day, I said, but I didn't want to be something you had to explain away. You weren't. She looked down, then up again, eyes steady now. You were something I didn't know how to name. Her voice cracked just slightly at the end. She took a breath, blinked it away. I stood, slowly. Then maybe we don't name it. She didn't move. I stepped closer, close enough to smell the faint perfume on her sweater, like roses left in a warm room. I'm not here to make this easy, I said. I'm not even sure I'm what you need, but I keep thinking about the way you look when you're pouring tea, or when you laugh at things you don't think are funny. She gave the smallest smile, barely there. I think about you too, she said. In moments I shouldn't. At red lights. In the silence after the radio stops. We stood there, both too still. Then she reached for my hand. Not with certainty. With permission. Her fingers touched mine, and that was it. No kiss. No declarations. Just a soft, human contact. Warm. Real. Enough. After a while, she said, I don't know what comes next. Me neither. And that was okay. For the first time, not knowing didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning wrapped in a pause. A beat later, she whispered, okay, not to me, to herself, to whatever this was. And I held her hand just a little tighter. It didn't turn into a sweeping love story. No moving in, no labeled boxes, no dramatic Facebook updates, just quiet things, slow things. A mug that stayed in her cupboard with my name written on the bottom in fading marker. Her thermos left on my windowsill after late walks. My hoodie folded on her kitchen chair. Never mentioned. Never moved. Some weeks we didn't see each other much. Work, life, moods, all the usual rhythms that don't care how you feel about someone. But the silence between us changed. It stopped being full of questions. Became something closer to breath. She kept the shop. I still picked up packages I didn't really need. We didn't talk about what we were. We just were. Sometimes I'd get there early, around 8:47 a.m., right as she unlocked the door, still tucking her scarf into her coat. She'd hand me black coffee before saying hello. I'd pretend not to notice the lipstick on the rim. Once I asked if her daughter knew. She suspects, she said, smiling into her tea. And she doesn't ask, which I take as permission, maybe. I nodded. That was enough. Other times we sat on the same canal bench, quiet, just watching water pass. Once, I reached for her hand without looking, and she took it like it was something we always did, like it didn't have to mean anything new. One evening, I asked, "Do you still think time stopped?" She looked at me, considered. "No," she said. "I think it started again. Just slower." Winter crept in. The light changed. We moved differently, less with urgency, more with care. I stopped trying to define what she meant to me. It didn't feel like I had to anymore. She knew. We both did. She still locked the door during lunch. But now, sometimes I'd be inside already, holding the other half of a shared parada, listening to the distant hum of the city. One afternoon, she was reorganizing the parcels. I was sitting behind the desk, folding a napkin over and over. "Do you think we missed a better version of this?" I asked. "One where it started earlier, made more sense." She glanced at me over her shoulder. "We weren't those people back then." "No," she shook her head. "You weren't folding napkins yet." I laughed. She smiled, then came and sat beside me, hand resting lightly on my knee. We didn't say anything for a while. Outside, a customer knocked once, twice. She didn't move. Eventually, I stood and flipped the sign to back in 15. I think about that moment sometimes. Not because it was big, but because it was ours. No fanfare, no final kiss. Just the quiet agreement of two people who decided to stay. Together in the middle of everything. The world still happened. But now we had a place inside it. And in that shop at 8:47 a.m., black coffee in hand, she always remembered the sugar. Even when I forgot to ask, "Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next?"